All right, let's dive right into this explainer and look at some truly fascinating clinical research together. Research that completely flips everything we think we know about practice and skill acquisition right on its head. I mean, we've all been conditioned to believe that endless, mindless repetition is the absolute gold standard, right? The only genuine way to master a tough physical skill. You sit down, you hit a wall, and what do? You just throw more and more repetitions at the problem. But what if performance psychology showed us that simply grinding out those reps is actually reinforcing bad habits? That it's literally sabotaging your progress? Well, let's unpack the data together and see exactly what's going on here. Now, I want you to really sit with this question for a second. What if I told you that you could actually acquire a complex physical skill significantly faster by physically practicing it less? It feels totally counterintuitive, doesn't it? It goes against every instinct that screams, practice makes perfect. But as you'll see from the research today, dialing back the sheer volume of physical repetition might just be the greatest performance hack you could ever use. Section 1, the repetition trap, falling into the endless cycle of error correction. Think about the last time you tackled a difficult passage. Maybe you were playing an instrument, running a drill for a sport, or learning a new dance routine. You hit a wrong note or you stumble, and immediately you try to fix it by just doing it over and over again. You slow it down, you try it a dozen times, and you hyper-focus on exactly what your hands or your feet are doing. When we hit a snag, we default to error correction. But why does this keep us so stuck? Well, legendary violin teacher Ivan Gelamian hit the nail on the head. He noted that truly learning a piece requires 3 essential tasks. First, there's building time, where you actively solve technical issues. Second is performance time, practicing actually playing through the whole thing. And third is interpreting time, deciding what a phrase should actually sound like. And here is our massive problem. When we start a new skill, we almost always dive in and get completely trapped in that building phase. We just try to fix what sounds bad in the moment, and we totally abandon the performance and interpreting phases. And when you get trapped in that building phase, you are using what sports psychologists officially call an internal focus of attention. This is absolutely crucial to understand. This is when you're obsessively focusing on your own body mechanics. You know exactly how your fingers are moving, how your elbows are positioned, how your posture feels, rather than focusing on the actual end goal. By hyper-focusing inward on your own machinery, you are literally severing your brain's connection to the final product you're trying to create. And relying on this internal focus isn't just a waste of time, it is genuinely dangerous. First off, it bogs you down in endless repetitions just to clean up tiny errors, which, let's be honest, is incredibly boring and super frustrating. But the physical toll is even more alarming. For athletes and musicians, and the data points out this is especially true for brass players, relying on sheer physical repetition to force a skill leads to severe fatigue. It drastically increases your risk of physical injury because you're quite literally grinding your body down without even giving your brain a clear target to aim for. Section 2, the external focus solution. Shifting from mechanics to intention. The secret to learning a skill insanely fast isn't finding a better physical drill, it's actually about shifting your mental framework outward. We have to move away from the mechanics and lean entirely into intention. So on one side, you got the internal focus. This is where you act like a machine, obsessing over angles and finger movements. But on the other side, the external focus asks you to act like an artist. It requires establishing a super clear musical intention right from the start. You intensely focus on the desired sound, the phrasing, the mood. You're basically telling your body what the final result absolutely must be instead of micromanaging every single muscle required to get you there. To prove just how powerful this shift really is, researchers in the Netherlands ran a super fascinating study in 2023. They tracked 7 trumpet players of different ages and skill levels. Let's look at the timeline. On day 1, they grabbed a baseline recording of them playing some excerpts. By day 3, the musicians were told to practice in their normal way, which, as you'd guess, was highly technical and totally internally focused. Fast forward 8 weeks, the researchers handed them brand new music, but this time introduced a completely different practice method. Finally, at month 3, they checked back in to see if the musicians actually retained this new method long term. But before we look at the exact method they used at that 8-week mark, I really have to ask you a serious question. Are you willing to look a little ridiculous in the practice room if it literally guarantees you'll play better? I ask because the method these researchers used, it's not your standard sit down and drill exercise. It's going to push you outside your comfort zone, but trust me, the payoff is absolutely massive. Section 3, the 4-step APT method, also known as the audiation practice tool. So instead of just grinding out reps, the musicians used this specific, intention-based cognitive process before they even tried to play the hard parts. Step 1, Before touching the instrument, imagine the phrase with as much detail as possible. Really hear the pitch, the tone, the volume in your head. Step 2, and yeah, here's where you might feel a bit silly, sing and gesture the phrase dramatically out loud. Actually, physically act out the intention. Step 3, only now do you actually play the phrase on the instrument. And finally, step 4, play it again, but focus on a completely different emotion or character. It's brilliant, right? You front-load all the mental work. You clarify exactly what you want it to sound like before your body ever tries to execute it. So, did this external focus approach actually work? Oh, absolutely. The participants improved significantly more when they took the time to clarify their intention and sing it out loud compared to their old repetition-heavy technical grind. But beyond just getting better faster, they actually reported that practicing was never boring, that it was easy to focus, and that their brain stayed super active. They finally actually enjoyed the process of learning, instead of just drowning in frustration. And I think the true power of this method is best summed up by just one number, 3. A full 3 months after the study ended, the researchers checked back in. And every single participant was still voluntarily using parts of this cognitive routine. Nobody asked them to. When a practice method is so wildly effective that it permanently changes the habits of seasoned musicians, you know you've stumbled onto a total breakthrough in skill acquisition. But wait, here is the absolute craziest part of the whole shebang. When the researchers analyzed those final performances to see which method worked best, they weren't judging them on musical expression. No way. The success was evaluated strictly on note accuracy alone. That is literally incredible. Even though they were only measuring technical, mechanical accuracy, the musicians hit the right notes more consistently when they focused on musical intention rather than their finger mechanics. We absolutely have to fight the urge to be the machine, reacting to every mistake with sheer physical repetition, focusing inward on our mechanics, and basically just causing fatigue and risking injury. Instead, we have to embrace being the artist, clarifying our intention beforehand. Getting crystal clear on your intention is the ultimate shortcut. It lets you master tough passages with far fewer physical reps, which saves you tons of time and totally protects your body. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. The evidence is just undeniable. Fewer highly intentional repetitions yield vastly better results than endless, mindless drilling. So the next time you sit down to learn something complex, I want you to ask yourself, are you going to default and practice like a machine, or are you brave enough to sing, gesture, and intentionally design your way to mastery? That choice changes everything about how quickly you learn. Thank you so much for joining me, and I highly challenge you to bring this external focus into your very next practice session.